What is up, Cowboys Nation? You are back in the cave. It's your boy Mike Tag and Kelly K9. We're gonna get this thing started. How you doing tonight, Kelly?
I'm doing good, man. Ready to talk some Cowboys football. How things going with you?
It's going good. We got to tell the viewers we had a great interview with Craig Morton. Are you talking, a Dallas Cowboy legend, played in the 60s, 70s, even into the 80s. Not with the Cowboys, though. He played with the Broncos. We got to thank him for a couple things. You got to thank him for Super Bowl 12, right? So was it Super Bowl 12? I believe we got that ring against the Broncos. But a little known fact is, after all that controversy, we didn't get into it, but we traded him to the Giants for a first round draft pick. And Kelly, do you know that first round draft pick was?
I don't know who that
You
first
don't
round
know.
draft pick.
We're talking about we got Randy White for him.
Oh, wow. We gotta send him a thank you card.
The funny thing is he played it. He played against him in the Super Bowl, and Randy White got Super Bowl MVP. So it turned all around. I didn't want to bring that up because Craig Moore was a great guy, but it was a lot of fun. But we got to talk some Cowboys. We've been on a little vacation, and then we got the interview. We got George T coming up live in the
Yeah.
cave with Kelly K9 and I. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. So we got to talk some Cowboys because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I know Kelly, you probably got some feelings when I bring up Mike McCarthy and what he had to say, this week. What was your thoughts on the offense and maybe on Kellen Moore?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Mike McCarthy is definitely, I feel like he definitely threw a little bit of shade towards Kellen Moore's way. In my opinion, that's what it was because, he kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He talked about, I've been where Kellen's been. I know that he wants to light up the scoreboard, but, I don't want the league's number one offense. I want to run the ball and let my defense get rested, keep them rested. And he said, I don't care if I have the number one offense, I want to have the number one team. Now, I don't have a problem with anything he said, because those are all true statements in my opinion. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to see this Cowboys team get back to running the ball. I want to see them look more like they did in 2016 versus how they've looked in, 18, 19, 20, with this high flying offense scoring all these points. But, it doesn't really equate to much, right? You can still score some points, but like what McCarthy said, he wants to be the number one team, not the number one offense. So I don't really have much of a problem with it, but it does make you think to yourself, was there some of this, friction going on during the season? And did this kind of hold back this team a little bit? You know what I mean? Because now you kind of look at it in hindsight's 2020, but maybe this is a good thing that Kellen Moore is gone. It sounds like they had some, philosophical differences. So it is what it is. But Mike McCarthy is unleashing it, letting it fly.
And it started right during the season. He gave a couple jabs, couple here there, and I think this is McCarthy kind of throwing it back to the Joneses, maybe more than more, because like I think you and I have talked about this, and you hire Mike McCarthy, you're hiring an offense, whether you like the hire or not, I don't know. I like the hire, but you gotta let him. You got to let him run his offense and do things his way. And I think, with Jones, they wanted to keep more here. And it just
Yeah.
never seemed like they were joined at the hip. They said all the right things, but you just kind of saw things building up and building up. And you don't know, is this McCarthy maybe using him as a scapegoat? I was watching, I don't know why I was bored today when I got home from work. I had some time to kill. I was watching ESPN, talk about the Cowboys like they always do. And they were bashing him for his comments and saying that, hey, man, he's, inappropriate. He shouldn't be talking like this. The game has changed. I don't want to hear about defensive running the ball. I want to hear about passing and doing all that. And and then now it's funny that all these networks that were bashing Moore, now he's the next coming. Now it's this offensive genius, how idiotic the Cowboys are going to get rid of him. And I think, like I talked to Jay Tuck about it. Yeah, you and I have talked about it. A lot of if you look at their stats and you look at the numbers, yeah, their offense was great. But any real Cowboy fan to watch every game, you can't tell me that was the number one offense that you've seen in the NFL.
No, no. I it's for me, it was, it just always seemed like a bunch of empty calories. There was just
Yeah.
there was a lot of them. There was no real substance to it. You know what I mean? It's like eating popcorn.
Yeah.
Popcorn looks good, smells good, tastes good, but it's got no real substance to it, right? Don't really leave you full. And that's the same way Kellen's offense was. You know what I mean? It was just like one of those things where you watch it and you're like, well, shit, we scored 35 points, but in key situations where we really needed to, they got cute and they did some shit and just, you know, or
Yeah.
we just come out and we just be very, very predictable. And it's like, you're running these plays that are scripted, and it's like, man, is there any adjustment here, man? Can you make an adjustment when you see that this defense is prepared for you? It's like they almost know your game plan. Can you adjust? And there wasn't a lot of that with Kellen Moore. So man, I'm not with all that. He's the next coming and he's this genius and stuff. I think what we're going to see out of the Chargers this year with Kellen Moore there is a lot of what we saw with the Cowboys. I think you'll see a lot of, point scoring, but I don't think you'll see a lot of substance. I don't think I think you're going to see the same Kellen Moore that we saw here with the Cowboys.
It's going to make for a very interesting game when the Cowboys travel to the Chargers. Cowboys are going to take over that stadium, so it'll be like a home game. But
Yeah.
it is gonna be some drama. As a Cowboys fan, I sure wish that was a home game. That would be a fun
Yeah.
one to go to, because it's definitely going to have some stuff. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, a Cowboy fan, at lunch today, and he's he was on the fence with it. He's not, he's not sold on McCarthy. The one thing I'll say is, all I go back to is that playoff game in San Francisco, against San Francisco, and empty backfield on 2nd and 2 before halftime. You're in the red zone and you're throwing a ball there, and it
Yeah.
made, that's where I'm saying. And so I get what ESPN's saying. It's a passing league. I think we all agree with that. But it's situational football, and you've got to be able to run, and you've got to be able to do that. You've got to have that balance. You can't be everything. You look at the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs had some balance with that running back, and he played a great game in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Eagles running the ball. It's still,
Yeah.
football is a simple game of, you got to have the defense, and you've got to, you got to have a strong running game. You just can't be throwing it out. And I think they've got to have some balance, and they've got to be. It's situational. So I think with McCarthy, this is going to be his year, right? I mean, he can win 12 games, but if they don't get deep in the
Yeah.
playoff, I think they're going to be. I think his job's in jeopardy. So he's going down with
Yeah.
the ship. I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's now it's on him. It's his responsibility. It's on McCarthy now. You know what I mean? And it's going to be. They're talking about, you know, something big in the works. And there's and from what I've seen is that it's adding. They're trying to add a dynamic playmaker around Dak. So they're going to give some pop to this offense. And Mike McCarthy's going to have some tools, and he's going to have all the ingredients to make a 5-star meal. And us as the Cowboys fans, we're gonna either take that meal and enjoy it and be like, man, Mike McCarthy, he's one hell of a chef. I'm glad we got him. Or we're gonna get food poisoning and be sick at the end of the meal and say, God damn it, show him out the door, man. It's like the next Top Chef. Show him out the door. Get him out of here.
Piss
But
off.
yeah, it's all McCarthy now. Yeah.
So that brings us to Jerry and Steven. Steven had some comments, a couple things. Tyron Smith, expected to be back. I mean, I don't think that's a bad move at all. I think
No.
it's not a bad move because I don't think his salary is I think it's
Yeah.
pretty damn good for a tackle in the NFL. And I know we're probably not going to get 16 games at him, but I'm
Right.
not upset with that one. One of the ones that was kind of close, and I know you were vocal on it and get your thoughts, is Steven kind of came back, and I hate to always keep bringing up Amari Cooper, but he backpedaled and said maybe they didn't handle that situation well. Maybe they didn't get someone to replace him. You hate to hear that because, I don't want to hear about that crap, after the fact. You guys had
Yeah.
opportunity to address it and they didn't. So kind of what's your thoughts on some of the things that he was talking about, and maybe, some of these players coming and going?
Yeah. first of all, Tyron Smith, I'll welcome him back with open arms. He's got a a very team friendly salary, and I mean, if nothing else, I mean, if we get some guys out there that are playing better, if nothing else, he becomes a guy that's maybe a rotational guy where you can kind of pull him in and out of certain game situations, try to keep him fresh, do some of that load management type stuff. So I'm all on board with him coming back. As far as Stephen Jones, I mean, thanks a lot there, Captain Obvious. I mean, we were all telling you that you got. First of all, it was more of a slap in the face that just a couple of years ago we gave away first-round draft picks to get Amari Cooper, and then you're sending him out for a fifth-round draft. It was just bad business altogether because. Was it Aguilar that got traded for like a third-round draft pick?
Yeah.
I think was it.
Yeah, one of those.
They got a third. And I mean, that dude's not even half the receiver that Amari Cooper was. So it wasn't it was a combination of the moves. It was the fact that you moved, our best, or at least 1A, 1B receiver, because him and CeeDee Lamb were right there on that same level. So you moved our number one receiver, and all you got in return was a fifth. And then you had no plan to replace him. So of course you made a mistake. The fan base was screaming that you made a mistake. And all the time, we like our guys, we've got a good young roster. We've got this, we've got that, we've got this. And, and we all saw how it played out this season, man. They left Dak and hung his ass out to dry. And, they gave him ramen noodles and asked for that five-star 5-course meal with ramen noodles. And, what are you going to do, man? It's just it's one of those things where, unfortunately, Stephen Jones, man, I just feel like he's made some pretty boneheaded moves as of late. And, it's cool that you admit that you made a mistake, but, maybe just don't make that mistake to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm
Smart
just
business
years ago, I was like, I thought Stephen Jones was going to be the one to kind of, get the reins and get this Cowboy
I
organization
did
run
too.
like that. But I don't know about you, but I'm missing Pops. I want to see old Jerry
Yeah.
back. I need to see the wheeler and dealer and kiss stealing, limousine riding, jet flying son of a gun. I
Yeah.
need to see something like that. That passion that Jerry had and the deals he made and stuff, because the thing is you let Cooper go, fine. I can't, I like Cooper, but if you had a plan, but we all waited for the plan, and the plan never happened of get somebody. And I think, again, we're here at that point. You've got CD, you got Noah Brown. I mean, he's your number 2. That just can't happen. Jalen Tolbert, they drafted in the 3rd round. I don't want to lose hope in him. I was really high on him. I'm hoping that maybe it was just kind of a red shirt season, and he'll come back and he'll do all this. You got Gallup coming off that, that injury. He just did not look like the Gallup that we remember. But I don't think Gallup, it's almost like with Alvin Harper, and I know I talk about the 90s too much, but deal with it. Those are great times. But Alvin Harper was just a great compliment. He was never going to be a number 1. And when he went to Tampa, his career just fizzled because he never could live up to being number 1. He's a great complimentary receiver. And I think Gallup is really a 3. And I just think that he's just one of those guys that you're going to get some big plays like they did with Harper. You get a couple big plays that he can high point the ball. He can do all that great stuff. Just everything, he's going to make that kind of play for you. But I don't think he's going to be the guy that if they're hell bent on stopping CD, that this guy's going to go 10 catches, 120 or whatever it is. I just don't think he's that guy. I still think Dallas needs to get a receiver, and I'm a fan of I want a big receiver. I want a Mike Evans kind of receiver opposite of CD and Gallup. And, I don't know your thoughts. Do you think we get that through free agency? Do you think we got to find it in the draft, or what's your thoughts?
I feel like that the Cowboys might actually be, that at least for through some of the things that I've been reading. Obviously, a lot of it's speculation and stuff, but they're talking about making some big move. They're working on some big things or whatever, whatever that may be. Maybe I could be 100% wrong, but there are some names of some wide receivers that can be had that I don't think you're going to have to give up a 1st-round draft pick for, whether that be DeAndre Hopkins. which I mean, I would be on board with that. You got guys like Mike Evans that are going to be out there that are going to be available. So, I would like to see the Cowboys do that. The unfortunate thing is though, is that if, and we keep going back, to this whole thing, was that Amari Cooper and you just restructure the guy's contract. I understand that because that was their thing. They were like, well, the money isn't equal production, blah, 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 whatever. Well, if you just would have came to Cooper, who actually said he wanted to stay in Dallas and maybe just rework that contract, wouldn't be in this damn situation in the first place. But
yeah,
here we are. I even saw a trade scenario play the other day, and I can't remember who it was that had posted it. It was an actual, one of these articles or whatever, and they actually talked about Dallas giving a third round draft pick to reacquire Amari Cooper. Now, I don't think that happens, but could you imagine if, we trade him away for a fifth, and we already gave up first rounds to get him, trade away for a fifth, and then use a third rounder to get him back? My God, dude, talk about ludicrous. That'd be crazy. But hey, look, if you told me that I could have Amari Cooper back and I could get him on a deal where it wasn't a huge deal or anything like that, man, don't get me wrong, I'd take Amari Cooper back on this team again. He's still got it. He had a pretty solid season in Cleveland, and did that with multiple quarterbacks under the helm. So, but yeah, I do think we add I think we're going to add somebody, and it's going to be a veteran name. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but I do think we add another wide receiver. I think they recognize their shortcomings. They understand that they sold this team short, and I think that they understand by looking at the Eagles and seeing what they did. That's your biggest barometer right there, right? They bring in an AJ Brown, and that just takes that team to the next level. So if you can just shore up that offensive line a little bit, get Steele back, get him under contract, figure out your plan on what you're going to do with Tyron Smith, whether you're playing him on that, on the tackle side or whatever, but and then maybe address that through the draft, continue to build that whole lineup. But I definitely think there's going to be an emphasis on on strengthening this offense and putting a better team around Dak this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the things I talked about on Monday, that the term all in gets thrown around a lot, and you hear it. What's really all in? And is all in just getting a bunch of free agents and just, older guys, overpriced guys, and just throwing them on a team? Or is all in just, loading up on the draft, or is all in just being strategic? And I think with the Cowboys, to me, for me, all in is you've got to address the areas of concern. And the areas of concern to me, obviously, is wide receiver, getting that other wide receiver spot. That offensive line, I think it's tight, but we definitely got to, there's nothing wrong with kind of tightening that up a little bit more, and you can do that through the draft. Defensive tackle, I can't have Neville Gallimore go anywhere because he does the best intro in the business, but we need to get something going there. We need some beef up there to help out these guys. And obviously, cornerback is not quarterback. Cornerback is an area where you got Diggs, you got Bland, you got Jay Lewis coming back, right? He's injured. You got Anthony Brown as a free agent. He's been injured. You got that injury, so you don't know what will happen there. Kelvin Joseph, my son still says give him a chance. So maybe you don't give up on him yet. But I think they've got to get something on that side. So I guess what I'm saying is I hear everyone on the radio, and they did this last year to Dallas, that the world's crumbling with the Cowboys. They've got so many holes. They've got so many things they've got to address. I don't think so. I think if they shore up a couple areas, definitely starting position, I think you've got to get a receiver. You've got to figure out your running back situation. And then on the defense, I think if you got a defensive tackle and a cornerback, you can address a lot of that stuff and not be that all in where you're bringing a whole bunch of, overpriced guys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And, and the strength of this Cowboys team and has been for the past, I don't know, 10 years, I'd say the strength of this team is through the draft. We build through the draft, and we hit more often than not. We hit on our draft picks. Like Will McClay is great at his job. He's great at what he does. As the quote unquote, GM that's not the GM, you know what I mean? Because that area that he works, man, that he does, he's finding throughout, in the later round, 6th round, and hitting in the 5th, they find Dak in the 4th. I know some may say that that's lucky or whatever, but hey, I don't think it's luck. I think it's a pattern of success that the Cowboys have had through the draft, right? So that's our strength. So when you talk about go all in, like I want them to be aggressive in free agency, but I also want us to still utilize our strength, which is draft, right? So I don't want us to just go crazy and start giving up picks like, when the Rams GM came out and what did he say? Fuck them draft picks. Like I don't want you to go that crazy, right? We don't need to flip out over here, right? But let's keep a cool head here. But I want them to continue building through the draft. But if they were to, let's say hypothetically, we give up 26 to get we give up our first round pick, but it's to bring in an impact player right away. Like I'm okay with that because I think that we can still, I think with the rest of the draft picks we have, I think we can still put some key additions and add some good players in. I mean, look at a guy like Deron Bland, who was a 6th round draft pick. I mean, so you can find talent in the later rounds of the draft. So when I say with the Cowboys, with what I want to see with them go all in, is I just want to see them make a concerted effort to be aggressive to add to these positions and not just do the same old where they grab some guy that's on his 3rd team in 5 years and hey, he may pan out with us, because they do have some hits and misses doing that. But I mean, get a proven guy. Get a guy that you don't have to wonder, will this guy pan out? You know what I mean? Because we've had some that have come in that have been disastrous. You know what I mean? Looking at the guys, and it's just like, that didn't work. So I want some proven guys in here. I want them to get aggressive, spend some money, get aggressive with some of these contracts, and put a good team out there, man, because this team is on the cusp. They really are. They're on the cusp.
They are, and it's still one of the younger teams in the NFL. I think maybe the 4th youngest. So we're there, and hopefully the big news with Jerry and Steven is getting our some of our young guys locked up, take advantage, get this free up. There's ways they could free up so much money. I know they're saying there's $7 million, over the cap or whatever, but they can create like $60 million in a snap of a finger. We've all said the cap is all BS. I mean, everyone knows it. So let's get into the interesting part, and it's going to be, free agencies going. The 15th, they've got by the 15th, they got an opportunity to tag somebody. So, they tagged Schultz last year. I'd be shocked if they tagged him again. But you got Pollard. Would you tag either one of them? Would you sign Pollard? I've seen things where, hey, maybe sign Pollard to a 3-year, $30 million contract. Then you can kind of move some money around and actually make it a $6 million, cap hit this year to even free up $4 million. Do you let him go and just draft someone? Because the hard thing is your decision's got to be made kind of before the draft. So you're kind of showing your cards, right? Probably more than likely. And then obviously the Zeke situation just doesn't seem. It seems like that's probably, unfortunately, breaking my heart is probably going to come to an end. Unless something gets worked out. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the running back situation is key. Well, McCarthy said he wants to run the damn ball. He wants to get back to that. Well, you got to have running backs to do it. And right now, we really don't have any because we're unsure what we're going to do with either one of them.
Yeah, I think if you franchise any player on the team right now, because there's a few of them that have been kind of thrown around out there, but I think if you're going to franchise anybody, it's going to be Pollard. I think it would be easier for them because, I mean, at least if you franchise him, he's not going anywhere because ain't nobody giving up 2 first-round draft picks to get Pollard. He's good, but he's not, he's not that good. Not 2 first-round pick good, you know what I mean? But so, if you're going to franchise tag anybody, it's Pollard, just so that he doesn't go anywhere. You've got his services secured, and then you can work out a deal because you still got until, what is it, June, June 1st, I think, or something like that, to get a deal worked out, somewhere in June, to get a deal worked out with Pollard, which I think is absolutely doable. I think that I don't think he's going to break the bank by any means. You give him a short-term deal or whatever. But in terms of franchise tagging a player, I think it's Pollard that you do that with. I think Schultz is going to see the open market. I mean, that's kind of the thought behind a lot of the writers that within the Cowboys organization that I've been seeing is that Schultz is going to get the, he'll be on the outs, and he's going to probably. I actually heard that one of the teams that might be looking to acquire his services is Kellen Moore's the team he's with now is the Chargers. So I guess we'll see. But I mean, I think we're sitting pretty good in the tight end room right now, even without Schultz. So.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, and I think you could see him end up in. I always want to say San Diego, but with
I
LA
almost
Chargers,
said that too. Yeah.
And you're going to see. I think you're going to see that obviously with the Chargers. They're going to get some of the guys that we kind of let go because you always want to have some familiarity, with the system and have some guys that
Yep.
know it can teach it and kind of do all that. And Schultz is a good tight end. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a good tight
Yeah.
end. He scares me. Every time he catches the ball, I've said it a million times. I pray he just falls to the ground because I think he's going to fumble it. So that's the part that always gets me concerned. But with Pollard, I agree. I think you can't let him walk. I mean, I've heard people say, "I just let both running backs walk." I don't think you can let him walk. He's got an injury.
Yeah.
I think at worst case, you franchise him if you want to let him play through that, and then figure out what you want to do. Or if you can get a deal worked out where it's cap friendly, it's good for him. It's kind of a win-win situation to kind of secure him for 3 years. Then I'm all for that too. But they're probably going to drop the running back. And when you see these running backs, fifth round, seventh round, you see all these guys just making waves, and it kills me. Running
Yeah.
back's my favorite player, is on the Cowboys is always a running back. You see Emmitt Smith there. I got Zeke stuff over there, Tony Dorsett. So the list, Herschel Walker, the list goes on and on. So it pains me to see some of these guys go. And, Zeke's had a great career. I don't think, he's going to be one of those guys that probably doesn't get the credit of his career that he deserves. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because he just didn't have a championship. If he had won a Super Bowl, his career probably looks totally different.
Well, yeah, and I guess what I would say for Pollard, the benefit of Pollard is that fresh legs, man. Because hell, we didn't utilize the guy for his first 3 years of his career, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, at least he's not been beaten, battered, bruised, and overworked. Because man, they ran Zeke into the ground. I mean, he was catching carries, at an unprecedented rate there for a while, where they were just, they just absolutely ground him into the ground. So, and when it comes to running backs, that whole position really honestly has been devalued because of the recent history of big contracts not working out well for running backs. There aren't many of them. I can't even think of the last big name running back that got signed to a big contract where it worked out for the team. I mean, you think about it, Christian McCaffrey, not on the same team. Derrick Henry starting to break down. You look at guys, Gurley, not even playing in the league anymore. He was the last one, kind of like before Zeke. Now you look at Zeke, he got that big contract. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I don't know if he remains on the Cowboys. It's a possibility he may be searching for a new team. And if he does, in what capacity is that going to be in? So, you look at the way that the running back position's devalued. And and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this at the draft, right? And I'm thinking about Cowboys needs and stuff, and if the running back from Texas falls to number 26, Bijan falls to 26, and he's sitting there at 26, and you're the Cowboys. Obviously, running back is not huge up on your list of needs, but I mean, the guy's an impact player, man. Day one guy that's going to come in and be a home run hitter. And I saw that dude play, man. I hate the Longhorns, but I mean, that dude he is for real. Like he's going to be, if he's on your squad, like he's the dude for like the next 3 to 4 years, man. He's going to be a guy that's going to command a lot of attention. If you got him and Pollard in that backfield, whew,
Yeah.
man, I don't. That's a hard pass up for the Cowboys if he's sitting on the board at 26, man. So,
No,
I
I think
don't know.
it's a lot with CD. Like when CD kind of fell to the Cowboys, it's like it's
Yeah.
getting to you can't pass it up. I didn't see him run. I'm not a fan of that conference. I don't see a lot of those games. I'm
Yeah.
more in the Southeast and ACC. So I'll take your word for it, but I take a lot of people's word for it. I mean, they say he's the real deal. So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see what happens. And you could look at it the flip side is all right. So you get him. So you got him on a 5. You basically got him for 5 years because you
Yeah.
get him 4 year. You pick up a fifth, and then you're just gonna have to kind of let it go if you want to. And the one thing I thought about, this is gonna be a curveball to you, and you can call me an idiot and you say, Mike, this you've got to be smoking something. But I'm almost wondering with the way the quarterback contracts are getting, could you ever see a time where the quarterbacks are almost going to be treated like a running back, where these teams are just going to continually draft quarterbacks and build a system and throw quarterbacks into it. I mean, you see what happened. You saw what happened in San Francisco. I mean, they went to their third string quarterback, and they were really an freak injury away from possibly going to the Super Bowl with a guy who was the last pick in the draft. And they ran three quarterbacks in that season, but it seems like the system was set up for them to be successful. And so do you spend $50 to $60 million on a quarterback, or are you getting these young guys on rookie deals and just building the defense and building everything around them and let them just be a game manager? Could you ever see that happening, or am I just,
that's definitely an interesting concept, just because of the fact that there are a lot of quarterbacks out there that um,
I mean, you paying
their
Daniel
suc-
Jones
their
$50 million?
their success is credited to the system. Yeah, exactly. Daniel Jones. I mean, and even, I mean, yeah, I may get some flack. I doubt it from the Cowboys fans, but even Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts as a pocket passing quarterback. Like, I think he had a great season. I thought, he made some, he definitely made some big plays. It looked like he did improve in the passing game, but I feel like that, Nick Sirianni developed a system around him that was built to his strengths. They
Yeah.
played to his strengths, plain and simple. Same way with Shanahan has done with all of his quarterbacks. He does it better than anybody. He's got these guys, and it's just that system. Doesn't matter what QB they plug in, it just keeps rolling because he's got to set up a system. So that's that is an interesting take, because when you look at the quarterbacks and you look at the money that they're commanding, I just think it's ridiculous to say just because you got a quarterback that you don't want to lose, that you have to pay him more than what the last guy made, and then more than what the next, you know what I mean? It's just that whole escalating thing is kind of like silly to me, because I mean, if you're the Giants, do you want to start over with another quarterback? Do you want to keep Daniel Jones, right? Well, Daniel Jones had a pretty successful season this year. Do you think it's sustainable? Do you think it's the system? I don't want to give Daniel Jones $45 million if I'm the Giants. I'm not feeling comfortable with that. But it's one of those things where, you hear it a lot, where it's like, well, the market is what it is. If you got a quarterback, you got to pay him. And it's like, at what point do teams go, nah, no, we don't.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We're gonna go grab this, because a lot more of these college quarterbacks are coming into the game NFL ready.
Yes.
I mean, Brock Purdy was a pretty good example of that, just because, I mean, nobody thought he was going to be a starting caliber quarterback, but I mean, look what he did with the Niners is pretty damn impressive. I mean, he was just kind of humming right along, and rolling with the system and doing what they asked him to do, and nothing more than that. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting concept to see if maybe NFL ownership and teams get tired of paying these outrageous quarterback salaries, and there may be guys like obviously a Patrick Mahomes is your outlier.
I was gonna say he's the only exception to the rule.
Exactly. He's an outlier. If you get a quarterback that you think is like a Patrick Mahomes, obviously you're going to hold on to him and grab him. But, even Lamar Jackson, his success down there in Baltimore, it's based a lot around the system. That's why they're saying, well, I don't know if we can really get rid of Lamar Jackson, because everything that we've kind of put around him is based off his strengths. And, so yeah, that's pretty interesting.
They
to
had
think
their
about.
backup quarterback won games and got him in a got him
Yeah.
going. So, I mean, it's just what I see, and the days, like you said, we talked to to Craig Morton, former Cowboy, and he sat for what, 4 years. He sat
Yeah.
behind Don Meredith before he even got the opportunity to start. You just don't
Yeah.
see that much. These guys, the way colleges are running their offense. I mean, look at Troy Aikman was a quarterback at Oklahoma, with Barry Switzer.
Yeah.
Another person would be coming in the cave. And see, I do like shameless plugs for us.
There you go.
But they were running like a wishbone. Now he threw more of that, but these quarterbacks are just coming in ready. And I'm just wondering, with these salaries, are these teams going to start looking at building the pieces around them, riding it out, and then maybe you're drafting a quarterback every few years and just have one there? I don't know. I know it's crazy, but the way the salary cap is, so what is it? 225 is a salary cap. And I know it's all fake money, but what's Dak's cap hit this year? 50 million plus, or I don't know what
Yeah,
it
I mean you've got damn near a quarter of your salary cap is wrapped up in one player.
Yeah. And it's
You
just
know?
that just makes things difficult. And that's where Philly, to their credit, and this is where Dallas really made their blunder. We had
Yeah,
Dak on a rookie deal and we didn't take advantage of it. Philly had the money to where they can move some guys and bring in some people. But once Hurts gets paid, it's going to be a different story. I mean,
oh yeah,
you're
yeah,
just not going to
yeah,
be able to sustain that. So it's going to be interesting. We got the combine starting. The thing with the combine. So let me ask your opinion. I understand the combine, right? I guess you know what you've got game film of these guys for how many years in college? Do you really need a combine to to see what these guys, see how they run with
yeah,
shorts on? And it is a thing that Michael Irvin had always, thought about is, and even Emmett Smith. Michael Irvin, he wasn't fast. He was never
yeah,
fast. He was never flashy, but he was one of the best receivers of all time. Emmett Smith wasn't the fastest running back, but he never really got caught from behind a few times. I remember the Giants opening play in I think the 95 season ran 80 yards. And so
yeah,
do they get caught up in this combine with the numbers and the measurables? And we talk about, some of the stuff these guys did, with Mamula was the big one with the Eagles back in the day from Boston
yeah,
College. He trained for the combine and ended up turning that into a top 10 pick and was taken ahead of Warren Sapp. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
yeah. I mean, you'd think that these guys, at least the scouts and stuff, and the talent evaluators, you would think that with all their experience that they have, all their years of experience that they have, that they wouldn't get swept away by a weekend performance, right?
Yeah.
High jump, lifting weights. I mean, because. And I'm not going to say he was, that he turned out to be, awful cornerback. But I mean, look at Byron Jones, right? Look at his combine. Like he was, you know, he was his high jump and long jump, like all these things are like, man, he's like a can't miss prospect. Like this dude is, and they talked him up really big, and his combine really helped him
Yeah.
and bumped his draft stock. And he turned out to be just kind of you know he was average. I mean, he's not nothing that blow you away. He's not no Hall of Fame or anything like
Yeah.
that. And so you look at stuff like that, and yeah, I mean, I feel like it improves a lot of these guys' draft stock by some of the things that they do. And there's always these guys that'll jump up over dudes that are like, this dude has been consistent through 4 years of college. He's been a beast, and he has maybe an off day or just kind of like not anything that jumps out at the pro day. So he has a couple guys that were workout warriors jump above him, and I mean, watch the tape, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I feel like the combine is overrated in my opinion. If you're a 3 or 4 year player, I'm watching the tape on you, man, because consistency is always going to show up on tape. You're
Yeah.
either consistent or you're not. You know what I mean? There's not really any in between, or you can show flashes or you can show potential, but that stuff shows up on the tape. And yeah, the combine, I've never really watched it. I've never really cared if a dude hit 45 reps at 225. Like whatever, man, show it
Yeah.
to me on the field. Right.
No,
So
I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with you, and it's fun, and I think the interviews, so that gets them an opportunity. Maybe it helps the small schools, guys that don't get noticed. Maybe they can flash out. So I don't mind some of the lesser guys maybe getting some attention, but I've always never understood this guy's tumbling. He was your top, he was a top 10 prospect, and his
yeah,
combine or his private workout, everything tumbled. I mean, unless he had some character issues or something crazy happened
yeah,
on his, that. But yeah, I agree with you, man. You just got, I mean, you got the film, man. You got plenty of film on these guys. You should know, but it's the NFL, and what does it do? The combine gets ratings. The combine gets all this stuff. So and it gives people stuff to talk about. So hey, shit,
yeah,
we just talked about it for 5 minutes. So we're just as guilty as everyone else. But it's going to be interesting to see how the draft works out. I just hope the one thing the Cowboys need to do, and Michael Irvin, he's always talked about it, and I've said it, is they got to get some Canes on this team. Now, when this team was winning Super Bowls, we had some Canes representing, and we haven't had Canes on this team. It was Michael Jackson and Joseph were the guys they drafted, and then Joseph stayed for a little bit, and Jackson they traded or no, they released him, or he was on the practice squad, and the Lions got him. And then he was starting for a team. God damn, I forgot the team's name. I couldn't even believe it. He was in the playoffs. I was like, man, is he still in the league? And he's starting, and we got rid of him. But anyway, we got to get some Kane. So that's my thing with the Cowboys. With McClay and all these guys. Just sprinkle in a couple Canes to get the mojo back. Let's get that mindset back into the '90s and see if we can get some Super Bowls out of it.
Yeah. Well, whatever brings us back to prominence, man, I'm on board with that. You won't hear me arguing about it.
I know. Like 27 years. I mean, even Craig Morton, who we talked with. I mean, he was amazed. He's like, God. I mean, that is just insane for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Not to get to the not. And I'm not going to be an Eagle fan. Let me just straighten this thing out real quick. I'm not talking about getting to the Super Bowl. I'm talking about winning a Super Bowl. We just don't want to get there. I mean, we don't want to be 1-3 in Super Bowls. We want to continue to win them. And I know the Eagles are satisfied to get there, but there's no satisfaction there. And the Eagles just love. I don't know. It's just funny to me. They hype it all up, and then they get beat, and they're like, well, at least we were there. We were there,
well,
right?
I mean, they're the epitome of a false start, basically, because that's what they are, man. They're a false start, man, because they're jumping to conclusions already. They're already running on talking about how Hurts is better than Dak, and I'm sitting there looking at go, wait a second now, right? First of all, Dak's career is not over by any stretch of the imagination, and second of all, Hurts had a great second season. I'll give him that, right? He did. But, I remember when they were talking about how Carson Wentz was better than Dak because of his almost MVP season. Again, another false start because they're all happy he almost won an MVP. And now they're happy that Hurts almost won a Super Bowl, right? So, you have to miss me with all that shit, man, because this is far from over. Yeah. Dak Prescott has shown, through his time that he's a quarterback that can get things done. And and while he has come up short in the last two playoff games that we've seen, whether it's San Francisco's got our number or that he just hasn't played well enough in some of those big moments, that's not his career is not over. His story is his storybook is, it's not finished, hasn't written the last chapter. He's still got a ways to go. So for them to say that right now, it's all just purely, opinion right now. Cowboys fans are going to say they like Dak. Eagles fans are going to say they like Hurts. Maybe even some Cowboys fans might even say they like Hurts better than Dak at this point right here. But, that is what that is. But still a long ways to go in both of those young men's careers. So Eagles fans can just, be happy with your participation trophies, man. I want a little bit more.
They don't give nothing for participating. We'll give them a ribbon or something like that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be interesting. I think this is a critical year for Dak. I think it's going to be obviously a critical year for McCarthy. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him, kind of taking the offensive reins. It's going to be. I'm curious to see if if he's gonna be able to pull Jones to make some moves, because like I said, we both agree there's a couple pieces, receiver, figure out what you could do with running back. Because even if you keep Pollard, you're gonna have to get someone else in here. I'm sure they're gonna have to draft somebody. I mean, I've even heard that, was it Kareem Hunt? There was some names that they were throwing out there as possible running backs. The wild one, which they better not do it, but it's rumor time, so stuff flies out there. Saquon Barkley, I've heard, wild rumors that the Cowboys are going to go all in on that kind of stuff, but they need to go through the draft on that and get it. But I think it'll be fun to see how it plays out. So we've got the combine, we got the draft coming up, we get that schedule coming out. We'll figure out where we're at. But here on the channel with Kelly K9 and I, and Cowboys Cave and Jimmy D and I on Monday nights, we got stuff in between. We just finished a great interview with Craig Morton. Who do we got up Thursday, man? We got your man up on Thursday. Who do we got?
George Teague, the defender of the star, Mr. Teague himself.
Now, the one thing I'm thinking about doing, because the story with the Hurricanes and Bama, we're going to get into it with them. I was almost wondering, like, man, should I actually just reach out to Lamar Thomas and see if I can get him to make a special. See if I can get him just to chime in real quick and make a surprise thing, because that play will live in infamy. and it'll always make me remember George Teague. I just could not believe that he ran Lamar Thomas. He was supposed to be he was our fastest player. We didn't really give Alabama a lot of respect out in Miami. We thought we were going to mop the floor with them, and they came in and just took us to the woodshed and gave us a beating. So, and we're gonna have to talk a little bit about that. But we're gonna get in to defending that star and really the thought process and kind of what was going through his mind, because he went at To, so he had to have been ready for a fight if
Yeah.
To would have bowed up, but To didn't. He kind of
No,
ran
and
back
then
inside.
and then he got Teague got ejected from the game after that point there. So
Yeah,
he probably knew at that point too he was about to get ejected from the game too. I'm sure. I don't know if he was thinking about that when we was charging downfield. I think he was just like, look, I'm not letting this guy get up and disrespect our logo a second time. That's not
yeah,
going to happen. But yeah, that when in terms of I've said this many times in terms of football plays that didn't necessarily have an impact on the game. Like that's my favorite one. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it wasn't like a swing of momentum in any one way because I think the Niners ended up winning that game.
yeah,
But it just was one of those things where it kind of like it gave you something to cheer for because
yeah,
our team wasn't really that great that year. We went through some tough stretches or whatever, but that was one of those things like, hey, look, we still got pride. These players are still playing this. It still means something to these
yeah.
players here in Dallas. We got some guys here that are standing up for Cowboys and you know what, for Cowboys fans, because none of us like seeing that shit either. So
No,
yeah,
no,
thing.
and you think of Emmett Smith do it. I mean, it was one of those games and one of those moments, like you said. If you're a Cowboys fan, you remember. You remember. I remember it distinctively. I remember everything that happened, transpired, and it's just one of those moments. So it's going to be really exciting to get him in the cave and for you and I to kind of talk football with him. He loves college, so we're definitely getting that college.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, oh
to
yeah.
say about the Cowboys and his career and what he's up to now. And I know he's got a podcast. He's doing great things. So it'll be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we've got some other guests that are coming up. Dennis Erickson, coach of the Canes. We got to get some you to represent this place. So we've got that coming up. Barry Switzer. We've got a great interview scheduled. I'm going to play this for you, Kelly. I might have played it for you already, but this is my favorite post game. This is why I love Barry Switzer against Philly. The fourth and one infamous play that we're going to definitely we're going to be talking about. But when we met him in the playoffs, beat him 38-9. Barry Switzer had this to say to the media.
We kicked their ass today. We played like that last time. It wouldn't have to even come down to a 4th and foot. So let's bury that son of a okay before I take that mic.
How about that?
That's the kind of guy. I love that guy, man. He's
Yeah,
a good dude, man.
no,
That's you know, and to be honest with you though, like I kind of miss some of that, man. You don't get a lot of that anymore. Everything's kind of like a rehearsed, you know, tell you what you want to hear shit. Where like where back then it's like some of those guys they hated each other, man. Jimmy Johnson, man, he hated the Eagles, man, and what Buddy Ryan like,
Buddy
you know,
Ryan. Oh my God. Yeah,
they hated each other, you know what I mean? And it's like one of those things where like they weren't scared to let it known. They're like, I don't like him, you know what I mean? Or said Switzer, bury that son of a bitch, like just like I've missed that, I miss that just that tension and just like these two teams hate each other because not to get too far into it, but yeah, I didn't like it when Michael Parsons was telling Kelsey to go win you a Super Bowl. Like, where's the come on, man? Like, what the heck? That's a hated rivalry, man. Like, Dak at least knew enough not to say that shit. He was like, look,
yeah.
I'm not getting it. I don't want, I can't go for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl because they asked about that. He's like, nah, I can't go there with that. Not with this rivalry. You know what I mean? Because
No.
he understood what that rivalry means to Cowboys fans. And, I just feel like a lot of the players and coaches are just too friendly. Like you hate each other, man. It's a rivalry for a reason, man.
It's kind of like if you talk to some of these guys, and we've talked to a few of them, on the show. There was that, and I think it's
Yeah.
just kind of become a business, and it's just, and I never want to see anyone get hurt. I don't want to see cheap shots. I mean, but there, you do want to see that passion and pride for your team, and I tell you what, people would ask me, it's like, hey, Cowboys out. It's good. You're probably rooting for the Eagles. You want your division to win. I said, no. I said, ain't no way in hell.
Never.
You think I want to hear their shit all off season? I want them to get stomped. And they're going to
Yeah.
say the same to us. And I respect that. I don't want them, I wouldn't expect anything less, from them. And it's not, I don't have anything against the fans as people. It's just, hey, it's a friendly, maybe it's not friendly, as it should be, but it's a friendly rubber. I don't want anything good to happen to them when it comes to, winning championships over us or anything like that. No bragging rights. And I think the players, back in the day, that was kind of their mentality too. I mean, it was, it was out there. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't like to see it, but I just, it's, I think it's what, Craig maybe was kind of alluding to in our interview with him, yesterday was kind of like that aired yesterday was kind of the, you just lose that. And I think in the football, you've kind of lost that pride, what he was talking about with the Cowboys and all that they had. You just kind of lose that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you got these teams now, and they're playing these these games, and it's just these heated rivalries, and it's a game where they're going at each other for 60 minutes. And then at the end of the game, they're trading jerseys.
Yeah,
you didn't see that back in the 90s, and you didn't see that back in the 80s, the 70s, and 60s. Like those, there were some of those guys that were lined up across from each other. Now they off the field it might have been different, but on the field they hated each other. You know what I mean? There was some real, some ill feelings between some of those players, man, where they wanted to go out there and punish somebody, whatever. They were looking for somebody on the field, like, yeah, I was looking for that guy over there, but now you just, I don't know, you're right, it's more of a business feel and stuff. So I just kind of miss some of which is why it's nice and cool talking to guys like Craig Morton and even Brad Johnson. We interviewed him. Guys like that, just old school guys that had that old school mentality. And the game has definitely changed in that aspect. And it is what it is, but it does make you miss it. And bringing a guy like George Teague on to hear his opinions and kind of what he thought into that, and how he felt about the Niners, or how he might have felt about T.O., maybe how he still feels about T.O. Be interesting to get that to hear about that.
No, absolutely. Well, I want to wrap it up. I think we just need to address one thing, because it bothered me. We talked about it today, and it still bothers me. To this point, is this whole thing, and I tried to stay away from this subject, but I can't stay away from it any longer. This whole thing with Michael Irvin, with NFL Network and everything that went down with the Super Bowl, and with ESPN, and I mean, just absolutely ruining his career on something that the hotel's not showing the video. No, I mean, my opinion is, if there was something that happened, you can't tell me TMZ would have this all over the news and it would be all over the place. There's been nothing put out against it. They're denying him the look at the tape. You've got video, and you got people in the bar that videoed it, and it shows nothing that would be anything else. But this whole cancel culture, is that what we call it? That off something like that, they just absolutely are destroying a man's career. It's just, God, it just pisses me off. And I hope, I know he's suing for $100 million. I hope he gets every penny of it. But it's really sad. Something's got to change, that you can be that quick to just say something, and these networks just throw you to the curb without any questions asked, no investigation, innocent until proven guilty, any of that kind of stuff. If there was video, it'd be out there of something egregious. And hey, if something comes out, then I'll be the first one to come on here and say I was wrong. But I've yet anything, and it's been weeks now.
Yeah, no, it's he came out and he came back swinging, though. Credit to him, you know what I mean? Because he could have just let it lie and been like, hey, I didn't do it. But instead, he came out with his lawyers and filed that lawsuit, the defamation lawsuit. So good for him, man. I hope he gets some money out of it, and I hope that all the facts come to light, and he's able to clear his name. Because from everything you read, from everything that you've heard, like, you just I don't see what could have been said that could have been, you know what I mean? Nothing was done. Obviously, there was no physical contact, so it wasn't anything of that nature. And you know, the fact that they're seeming to be pretty shady about the whole thing. You know, the female employee or the female in question worked for the hotel. I mean, it all seems very suspect.
Yeah.
And so you feel bad for a guy like Michael Irvin who has, you know, done really good work, man. Done really good work in his, in his being an analyst and being a guy that comes on and gets on with Stephen A. Smith. As much as I may not like Stephen A. Smith, I love watching those two go at it though. And when Michael Irvin gets up on there and starts preaching to Cowboys
That's
Nation and the rest of all the things. Yeah, he's awesome to watch, man. I watch him on Mondays on that's the only time I'll watch that show. But when he's on Mondays, man, I'm tuning in. So you hate to see it happen to a guy like that because he just seems like an honest, true, take the Cowboys away from the whole thing. He just seems like a good guy. Seems like a guy that that has good intentions. He doesn't seem like a guy that would do anything to purposely disrespect anybody or anything like that to harass anybody. I just don't see that from him. So I'm looking forward to him being able to clear his name and it pisses me off too because people they're very quick to react to an accusation where you don't get to clear your name, and I don't think that's the way that it should be. But that's the day and age
we all have jobs. We all have livelihoods. And I mean, obviously he's financially, he's in a better spot than you or I are, but it happens to it could destroy your life. So
that's right.
I just hope that this thing gets figured out. But whatever happens, if it comes back that he's innocent and all of this, I'm just really disappointed in the NFL Network and ESPN for just kicking him to the curb as fast as they did without any thing. So anyway, that's where I'll leave it. So you guys, Kelly and I, we had a great night. We had great interviews. We got more coming up. You guys make sure you hit that subscribe. Hopefully we're giving you content that you enjoy. Leave a comment. If there's something that we're missing, then hey, man, just let us know. You guys know where to find us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok, whatever the hell social media platform. I don't think we're hiding anywhere, are we, Kelly?
No, we're not hiding anywhere. We're not hard to find.
So definitely, we got a lot of fun stuff. So let us know if there's anything we're missing. But we've got a lot of interviews. We got a lot of guests. We're going to be doing some draft stuff. We'll get in some draft experts because I'm not the expert. I don't know if Kelly's an expert, but we're going to bring in the people that are going to help us out. So in honor of Michael Irvin, I'm going to end with my favorite post-game, not interview. It wasn't really an interview because it was just a statement that he made after the championship game in 90, that would have been 95 going into 96 when we took care of the Packers. We'll leave you with that. You guys have a great weekend.
Don't nobody deserve it more than our head coach, Barry Switzer. He take all the maligning, give him his